Tonight I'm going to do a quick review of my Kydex Hybrid Style Holster. These are a holster that are very common. You see them all over the place. It seems like every manufacturer does a style of this holster now. They're very simple. They don't change a lot from maker to maker. Some makers put a little extra spin on it, but it's always pretty much a similar design. The one I have is made by Mike Denke. It's of Columbia Firearm Services in Portland, Oregon. But it's much like all the others you would see online or in your local shops, made by local makers, etc. So, I'll discuss it generically by the style of the holster, and you can keep in mind that this is one made by a local maker, like I said, Mike Denke of Columbia Firearm Services. But like I say, what I'll be saying about this holster will apply to a lot of these style of holsters because, like I said, they are very similar. Before we get into actually showing you the holster reviewing, I'm going to show you how I wear it. I do wear it at, about the 3:30, 4:30, between 3:30 and 4:30, 4 o'clock, a little beyond 4 o'clock here. Very comfortable holster, seats very well. So you can see right there I carry my Glock 33 in it. This one is made for a baby Glock sized pistol. So that's where I carry it at. So now let's go take a little bit closer look at the holster and what I think is the good and the bad about this style of holster. As you can see here, this particular hybrid holster is made by Mike Denke or Denke. He is a local maker here, Columbia Firearm Services at gmail.com. If you live in the Portland, Oregon area, he's a local maker. So that's who this particular one comes from. But like I say, all these are very similar, so you won't see a lot of difference between the styles or the makers. Okay, first let's start off with the things I really like about this holster. First and foremost, I'll say that I like about this holster is that it's very comfortable. I was extremely surprised at how comfortable this holster it is. Really shapes to your body, really holds to your body very comfortably. You forget it's there. If you've got a t-shirt on, this holster is extremely comfortable. That goes against anything I would have thought about it. I would have thought they were uncomfortable. But even with the Kydex being a little harder, the leather backing of the holster is all you feel against you, and it is extremely comfortable and it rides very well. So comfort is an A+ on this holster. Now another positive I will say about the holster is stability. The 2-clip system and being off the body of the gun, being off the side, makes them a little more streamlined, but it also makes it very stable. The gun holds very well to you. You put it on your belt where you want it. It does not move. You can be all day and it will be exactly where it was when you first put it on when you take it off that night. Very, very stable holster. Now another thing is that's very good is wear. I have noticed that leather holsters tend to wear on my Glock finish a lot. I see rub marks when I pull it out of the holster. With the Kydex, I see none of that. I take the gun out at night. There's no big rub marks down the side of the gun like I get with my leather holsters. So just really, really good about not rubbing the holster. Now that rubbing the gun, and that is once again something that's completely opposite of what I would have thought before I actually tried Kydex or solid material, hard material holsters like this. Always was really against them. Really just started trying them recently, and I'm really surprised at how it seems to wear the gun less than leather. And when you really think about it, it makes sense. If you keep the interior of this clean, there's actually less contact and less rubbing, so it makes sense that it would wear it less. But that's a really big positive to me. Now the last thing I'll talk about in the positive section is retention. Retention on this is good. I wouldn't call it the best, but it's good. It holds the gun firmly, but doesn't hold it too firmly where you feel like it's stuck in there when you go to take it out. Now one thing I will notice people make the mistake of judging retention on these holsters by, they'll put the gun in, they'll turn the holster upside down, and the gun falls out. And they'll think, wow, that retention is not good at all. Well, that's not how these work. These work by when it forms to your body. When these little wings twist around and form to your body, that's when the retention works. As you can see there now, I'm trying to pull the gun out. It doesn't come out as easily. It has to click out when the holster is folded around your body. Now, when it's flat, it comes right out. So it's actually the shape of your body and actually wearing the holster that makes the retention work. So if you take the holster off and on, it goes right in and out. Once it's on your body, it holds it nice and firmly. Now it's not like a locked in type of feel. So if you're like used to the holsters that require you to push a button or something like that, or a thumb lever, it's not the same kind of retention of that. Or even with the Nate Squares where you do a little bit of a twist, it's not that level of retention. But for me, it was adequate retention, and it was good retention. So I will give that as a positive. So your positives of the gun are: it's comfortable, it's stable, it stays put where you put it, it doesn't wear on the gun, and it seems to retain the gun very well. All very good things to be a positive for a holster. Okay, now let's talk about a couple of negatives about the holster. One of the negatives about the holster is the comfort. And I know I said it's very comfortable before, and it is. It's a very comfortable holster as long as you wear a t-shirt with it. If you do not wear a t-shirt with it, this leather is a little rough. And I've found that to be true of most of the makers. The leather is just a little raw, a little rough, and it will irritate your skin. At least it irritates my skin. If you're wearing a t-shirt, it's great. If you're not wearing a t-shirt, I suggest another type of holster, because these are really skin irritant. They bothered me quite a bit. It bothered me quite a bit when I tried to wear it one day without a holster. In that aspect, I find the Nate Square tactical holsters to be much better, and other holsters similar to that. But still, very comfortable as long as you got a t-shirt on, but without a t-shirt, not all that comfortable. One more negative would be positioning. Because of these double clips here, it does run into more of a chance of it interfering with positioning on your belt with your belt loops. And because you can't clip these on over belt loops, so it does have to, you do have to think a little more where you put it. It does limit where you can put it because you're trying to fit 2 clips on somewhere instead of just 1. So that is a negative, but it's not a big negative. That's just a tiny negative. But it's something you may want to consider if you're buying a holster like this. Now, another negative about the holster like this, and this is just my own personal preference, the retention, like I said before, is a little light. If you can deal with that light retention, not a big thing. It's not as light as some, like, it's definitely not as light as softback holsters, or you know, like those polyester ones or whatever they're called, those little soft side holsters that are just really cheapies. It's definitely not like that, and it's better than probably most fitted leather holsters, but not quite as good as some fitted leather holsters. But still a good retention, but it's not going to have that heavy duty retention if you're used to, like I say, like ones with thumb locks, things like that, or ones that fit really, really tight, like the Nate Square Tactical Professional. It's not going to be quite the retention you're used to, but it's very adequate retention, but not quite what it could be. Okay, now the negative I saved for last. To me, the one biggest drawback of this holster, it was a very positive experience in most ways. Other than having to wear a t-shirt with it, which I can deal with, most everything was very positive. The biggest issue I have with it, that's the biggest negative to me, is it's very hard to put this holster on and off. You can't take it on and off easily or quickly if you need to take your gun off and go in someplace or anything like that. It's really difficult to put it on. Now, a lot of us don't have to do that very often. Like me personally, once I put my holster on, it generally stays on. And if I know I'm going somewhere where I need to take my holster off, I can make arrangements for that. But I usually don't have to do that. But where it really came into problem with me with the on and off issue is, you know, you really have to work this thing down in and then get both clips on. So it's a little difficult to put it on in the morning. It's a little bit more of a hassle than any other holster I've ever put on. My double strap holsters and my single clip holsters are all much easier to put on. Not that it's a big deal to put it on, but it is a little bit more of a hassle than any other holster I've owned. But still, that's not the worst part. The worst part to me is because of the light retention. When you take the gun off of you, and it, you know, and it's flattened out, you know, like I showed you earlier, the retention is not heavy when the gun is off of you, when the holster is off you. So I cannot take this holster on and off without taking the gun out of it. I have to take my gun out first, then take the holster out. Then when I put it on in the morning, I have to put the holster on and then put the gun in. Now, I'm one of the people, I like, when I take my gun off, I leave it in the holster. I take the holster, undo the straps, pull the holster gun all off, store it. You know, of course I take it out of it and clean it every now and then. But when I'm doing my everyday carry, taking this on and off, I like just take holster off with the gun in it, put the holster on with the gun in it. I don't like to expose my trigger guard any more than I have to. So that's one of my negatives for this gun. It's my biggest negative, is that I can't seem to get this gun holster on and off without having to reholster. And reholstering the gun into the Kydex is something that bothers me right now. You know, every time I'm putting it on with that, you know, the barrel of the gun pointing right at my ass, sliding it into that Kydex when it's formed tight around my side, it makes me a little nervous. Now, I'm hoping this is something that fades, you know, because, you know, as someone who's been carrying for a while, I was really nervous when I first started carrying a gun, period. Then I was nervous about carrying a semi-auto gun. Then I was nervous about carrying a semi-auto gun loaded. And then I was nervous about carrying striker fired. I was nervous about carrying a 1911 with the safety on, cocked and locked. You know, and I got over all of those to where now I don't even think about them. I just know how to do it safely, and I do it almost out of instinct and reflex now, that I just safely know how to do those guns, and it doesn't worry me anymore. So I have a feeling that'll probably be the same with this. Once I get to where I know it's not going to go off, and I know I'm taking proper precautions, it won't bother me as much, but right now that's a negative for me. So there you have like my pros and cons of this holster. As you can see, there are some pros, there are some cons. The pros to me really outweigh the cons. Is this my favorite holster? No, it's not my favorite holster. Is it a very good holster? Yes, it's a very good holster. These style holsters are very good holsters. I never would have said that a year ago. Would have even said that probably 2 months ago. But now I would. I would say they're very good holsters. Now, like I said, not my favorite, but is it one I'm going to be wearing? Yes, I can see myself wearing this holster a lot. I may even get another style of this holster because they are so stable. I went hiking with it the other day, and when we go hiking, I'm not talking, you know, just a walk around the block, and I'm not talking heavy duty going camping hiking. I'm talking just going hiking in the Columbia Gorge, up some hills, down some hills, you know, over some rocks, and it was so stable. It held the gun so well, and that's what I liked about it. It didn't shift. I was never having to readjust my gun holster. So I really like that aspect, so I probably will be carrying this a lot. Like I said, there's some positives, there's some negatives. The positives outweigh the negatives, and I really did like the holster. It's not my favorite, but I am very fond of it, and I could very easily see where some people would say this is their favorite style of holster. So overall, I would give this holster a good solid B or a B+. I mean, just a really good product. If this is the kind of way you want to go on a holster, they're streamlined, they hold the gun close to your body, they're comfortable, they're stable. You know, there are some bad drawbacks, but it's, you know, like the retention is not quite what it could be. They're a little harder to put on and off because of the clips, but just that little summary of the review right there just shows you the good is far outweighs the bad, and it's a very good overall holster.